Hey, I'm Victor Margiotta, and this is the Community Show. My guest is Zedek Ullman, and he is a diver, and he does a lot of services in the Hudson River. So we're going to talk about a little bit of the history of the Hudson River, but first we're going to talk a little about his history. He's respectfully known as Z, only because it's a little easier to say than Zedek. So thank you, Z, for coming on.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm glad that I could make it.
Yeah,
I almost canceled, but here we are.
Well, you're a busy guy. There's a lot going on, right?
There is.
That's good.
Yep.
So give us a little history. Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Czech Republic. That's where I grew up. Beautiful place, recommend.
All right.
And my career was in Czech Republic. I was in a professional army where I graduated as an officer, started the academy when I was 13.
Wow.
And when I graduated, shortly after, I got deployed. I asked.
Mm-hmm.
So my wish came through.
Good.
And I got deployed back then in Bosnia when there was a conflict there. I think I spent 2.5 years over there. Then went back to Czech, and things started to be different to me, trying to figure out what else to do in life. A lot of things what made sense before didn't make sense anymore. So it was kind of like a walking the streets with drinking a hot chocolate and trying to understand what people are doing and why. And how do I fit into all that.
Right.
So the idea was to go to States. A friend of mine introduced that idea through the deployment.
Okay.
And the motto was, let's see how those people live over there. I had no interest.
Yeah.
But anyway, then I called him up. I was like, Paul, let's go and let's see how those people live.
Right.
So our motivation coming to States was never for money, for work. It was literally to see how those people live.
Okay.
So we got to States.
Whereabouts? In New York?
We landed in GFK.
Okay.
We spoke very little English. My friend spoke like no English.
Oh my gosh.
So when he was an immigration officer, I'm like, Paul, he's asking how much money you have. And the only thing what Paul knows, he looked at the immigration officer and he's like, $10,000.
Yeah.
It was true. But the officer thought like the guy is like
Trying to bribe
out of his
right.
mind. So he's like, okay, you're good. I don't want to spend any more time.
Okay.
So we got to the States. We started work construction. And it was literally like just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
$7 an hour back then. The raise came at $7.50, and we invited the foreman for a dinner because we were like, Slavo, you're such a good guy. Like, it's a lot of fun, to hear the raise $7.50. We thought like it's a good joke. It's like, it was awesome. So we're like, we'll take you out, man.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm just trying to make a point that we didn't come here to seek for work, employment, and money. We had plenty of our own. But I kind of started to feel that there might be opportunity here. So maybe just because nobody knew me.
Right.
So I could do something bold and again, something new. So I was working for some painting company, some Slovak guys, but I felt like since I'm spending my lifetime over here, every day matters, right? I don't know anything about the country. I don't know anything about these people. I don't know language, nothing. So I started studying a lot. And I stepped out from the company, and I was literally in front of the paint store. I bought my little car, Hyundai, and I was having the dictionary and asking every American if they can employ me. And I say, I'm attending the English classes. I will get better every day.
Nice.
So,
Awesome.
And I say, I have my tools, I have my car.
Right.
So that was 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, some American company, they employed me, and it was great because I was with the Americans. So I felt like I'm fulfilling the time over here. So I was able to learn the language. I studied every single day, writing the cards, listening the audio of myself, which was horrible every single time. I was hoping for different. But anyway, that's what I did. So after that, I decided to open up my own company. And before I did that, I just printed the business cards at Staples. Simple name, Painting Works. handing the business cards every morning, wherever I went to, a library, gas station. I got my company opened, which was very easy. Back then, it was just what was it? I don't know what they needed. They just need my passport back then
Right.
and a tax ID number. The trick was I went to
You had to
tax.
pay your tax.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do because I'm like, I'm living here.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody pointing the finger at me that I'm doing something wrong. That was my motivation.
Sure.
I was like, so I went to the accountant office, and I'm still friend with the accountant. And knock on the
Nice.
door, and remember I say, I'm the illegal alien over here.
Now.
Can I start paying the taxes? And he's like, can you repeat yourself? People don't do this stuff here. They're illegal, they stay away. So anyway, so he gave me that tax ID number because I had a plan. I grabbed that magic number, and that's all you needed back then to register the company, workers' compensation, liability, get the taxes, and here I went. So that was the first thing what I did here. 5 years working straight every single weekend, every single year. I was like, how come I only have $600, $800 left? So that was 5 years like this. And then somehow I levitated away from those customers that were handing me to one another as a cheap guy. I didn't know. And they were always assuring me that I'm doing really great. And I worked every single Saturday and Sunday. So I peeled off from those people somehow and started to work. And 17 years later, the company still existed. I opened another company, home improvement. And that's what I was doing over here for most of the time.
Right.
Busy as crazy all the time. Yeah. So I felt great about myself.
Excellent.
Like I can look back and I can see that I contributed to the place where I live. It don't matter what country you live, but wherever you live, you contribute to the place.
That's right.
And I think it starts with the family, it starts with the household, grows bigger to the community, grows to the country.
Exactly.
So I got rid of that thought that somebody can point a finger at me and tell me that I'm doing something wrong.
That's a good
I was
thing.
like, I got something to look back that I gave back.
So then how did you start this company?
So home improvement was great. I was making money. I was busy like crazy. But a lot of people will probably tell you, I mean, they tell me that home improvement was always like a little bit of the wrestling game. Like I'm honest person. I think by now I can justify myself. I know myself this time. And home improvement just was like a lot of wrestling game. And I was getting discouraged. I was like, you're trying to do something right. But anyway, so I took, just by chance, I took scuba diving lessons. It was like 4 days. It was a little, just like nothing, right?
Right.
And the training went like horribly wrong, terribly. I was suffering left and right. But that inspired me because the third day of the training, the guy asked me, he asked everybody what they want to do. And everybody want to be the marine biologist, all the girls, right? And I said, listen, I'd like to become the dive instructor because I believe there's a better way of doing it, flat out.
Yeah, because you're not doing a good job with
And I say, I want to make it to my career just to prove my point. I told him that flat out. So 4th day, we finished the training. I set my mind to it. Two years later, I would say I was dive instructor. I also did my boat captain's license at Sunny Maritime. That's where I met more maritime people. And that's how I started work on the weekends with one of the marine construction company. I worked for free because I had my own company, I had my own money. I said to the guy, I don't know.
almost like an internship.
Yeah, it was like, for me, I said to the guy, I was like, listen, to me, it's like a porthole to other dimensions. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So that was my weekends. And then it turned out that I got the first request to pick up something from the bottom somewhere. So I couldn't be more thrilled, right? So I remember the first time I jumped in the water. It was in a city. It was like 10 feet of water. It was like no big deal, right? But all of a sudden, like, it was pitch black over there, right? It was mud, and I landed on a muddy bottom, and I saw nothing. I was scared, but my thought was like, Jesus, nobody can find out how scared I am. And I'm like laying on the bottom, scared. Then I found the things what I had to do, some shackle, do or undo. I did it. I kind of got comfortable, and I came back, and nobody found out that I was scared. And I did the job, and then it started to leading to more and more requests. And then again, I found my way working with the company. I had my way of thinking and keeping things organized, this and that. It's hard to redo the adult person. So I say, why don't we just break in peace? I'll open up my own company where I can, instead of changing all of you guys.
Yeah.
So I opened up my own company as a diving, knowing nobody in the industry. No one. I peeled off, stepped off, no income, just like that.
Wow.
And I'm like, dressed up every weekend, went to the marinas, giving them the business cards and flyers, and being rejected and being kind of like humiliated and stuff. Beautiful summer, people on the boats, and I'm going from marina to marina, talking to people and talking to people, talking to people. So I've been doing that for like 2 years until.
Yeah. What was your main objective then? To clean bottoms of boats? To
No, I wanted-
salvage?
Back then I wanted to do some work. I never wanted to clean the bottom of the boats because I'm like, once I get into it, all I'll be doing cleaning the bottom of the boats.
I know,
I want to be progression of learning new things. You can only clean the boat from the bow to the stern or sideways, and that's it. You know? So I was never interested in that. So first I cut some line from the propeller. That was exciting, and then I fastened some nuts on a propeller shaft, this and that, and then it led to more things and more things. And the success basically came from a vast experience from my whole life doing construction. I think I'm a very logical guy.
Gotcha.
I figured things out. And you just bring all that tools and stuff underwater. It's really not a big deal, you know? So you have that base of skills and home improvement and you know some math, you know some physics, you can calculate a couple things here and there, and then you bring all that underwater and you just do the same thing. You just have to breathe differently than what you do over here.
Yeah.
So that's how it started for me, and then little by little, I was very passionate, I am every single day. It started to lead into more and more and more work. I kept buying equipment, and I was broke for at least 4 years. Completely broke.
Right.
Completely broke. Spent
Yeah. Well,
every
none
dollar.
of this stuff is cheap.
No, spend every dollar on the equipment. Every dollar. And, you know, when I didn't work, I was trying to chase the work. And the work it's not like painting job you can pick up any day. It's a vast amount of stuff. My profession is a little more. So today's situation is better. I think it's very good. And I got my recognition. I think I'm well known in the industry. I started, I don't know how you say it, rubbing the shoulders with the right people or elbows. I don't know what the American saying is, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So today I'm known in the industry and the company is good. We're doing some bigger salvages, recoveries, inspections. We do a lot of things. We're very busy and I'm grateful.
Yeah. What is the key to getting a boat out of the water from the bottom of the water? And what's the toughest part?
I'm glad you brought that up because one of the favorite activity among all divers, like we all say that it's a salvage. Salvage means if there is a sunken vessel or equipment, you go down there and you bring it back up. So that's what a salvage means in the language of the divers. So that's something what we kind of like live for. Everybody says, oh, I love salvage. I can be doing that 30 hours straight. I don't care. And that's true because many times it is 30 hours or more straight.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we started to do those salvages like little boats, like 19-footer. But the beauty of it is, first it's like the adrenaline rush, but I think like besides, it has a great impact. I don't know if I can say on a community. I think the community is like a smaller group of people, but it has a good impact for all of us. Like I said, like every salvage matters because almost every of the equipment, whether it's a crane and bobcat or ATV or those snowmobiles, they go under the ice, or the boat, all of these vehicles or equipment, they have some petroleum products in it.
Yeah.
And those petroleum products eventually will leak into the water. Plus the material of the body, fiberglass, breaks down, releases those fibers, the fish eats it. I'm not trying to be like overboard crazy with the
no,
green stuff, but I'm like, when you lift up the boat and you take all that petroleum products with it and all the debris and the stuff, I think it's a great deal
Yes.
for everybody.
There's no doubt.
So
speaking environmental, I was in second grade, right down the street here at St. Patrick's School. I had a Time magazine back in 1972, and it had a cover of the Hudson River, and there was fish floating on top, and it looked like a garbage dump.
really,
Yeah, and back then, every company on the Hudson was dumping into the Hudson. Anybody that thought that they could use it as a garbage dump was dumping in the Hudson. They had a huge plant up the river that was dumping PCBs, and
Wow.
it became a problem. And thank God that they finally cleaned it up. And to this point, how would you say that the quality of the river is?
I can't compare to what you say
Right.
because I wasn't even born that time. But I think Hudson is pretty good. I mean, there is always room for improvement, and I can name the exact stuff, but it's pretty good. I mean, I go on a boat on the Hudson and I see the sturgeons jumping up. I swim in the water. I mean, when I dive, I do some work.
Yeah.
And I got the striped bass like bouncing me. I got a lot of eels, nibbling on my fingers.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of life. And we also have the oysters in the Hudson. I picked up a couple of oysters. They're usually in my way, what I need to do. So a lot of crabs. I feel Hudson is very lively.
It's lively.
It's not a dead place.
No.
Very, very lively.
No.
And I think it would be great if people would see it that way, that it's so lively, that it would also give you the contrast. Let's not do anything bad to it because it is so lively, it's so beautiful. If it would be all garbage, then one more garbage won't matter.
Yeah, and that was my problem when I was a kid. I was very upset because here it is, something that I live right next to that is part of my life. Why ruin a perfectly beautiful resource? Something that to this day people go out and enjoy. Me and my best friend Tom Bonamo were just out a couple weeks ago on the boat. Got lucky; it was like glass, and we were able to fly up the river as fast as we could go. Yeah, it was beautiful, and the scenery is just—it's like a whole nother world out there.
Yeah. I saw the book once, and there was a book of the 10 most beautiful rivers in the world, and the stretch on the Hudson from Peekskill to Cold Spring was one of those 10 rivers.
There's no doubt about it.
And I can agree with it. I can go on the Hudson 10 times a day. If the year has 400 days, I'll take them all, and it will always be amazing.
It is. It's the most beautiful thing. And if you get a chance to get out there, it's nice to have a boat, but it's nicer to have a friend with a boat.
Right.
So, but it can be expensive, and this is why people need to salvage their boats, because if they go down, you got to bring them up.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention one issue because I would feel bad if I wouldn't.
Okay.
So here we go. To keep the Hudson beautiful, I have to say that. The thing is, not every boat, and a lot of people don't know it, the boats are not required to have the insurance. And that's a big deal.
Right.
DOT enables the commerce on a body of water. They let us use the boats, but I believe it feels like they don't tie up the end. So meaning if there is a boat which has the collision and goes down and there is no money to raise it, number one, DOT is not going to ask where your boat is. Every 2 years, everybody gets the new registration. And at that time, they should ask where your boat is, what is the condition of the boat, what's the inspection on it.
Yeah.
There's no question. So if you sink your boat and you don't tell anybody and you have no insurance on it, it's just nobody will ever know. So it's an easy fix, but it has a huge impact.
Right.
So having insurance on a boat, that should be number one. And I believe every 2 years when the registration is up, the boat should be checked, where it is, what's going on. And that's something that's happening a lot.
Now, your use of drones, I think, is pretty incredible. Talk a little bit about that.
Like aerial drones?
Yeah.
Oh, I love using drones for myself too, because many times there is a place which is very difficult to access and we need to survey the area around the salvage. So I fly the little drone, and then we can scout the area where we're gonna stage the boats, how we're gonna enter. Sometimes the wreck, like the top of the wreck, is just a couple feet below the water. Like we did one in Connecticut for City of New London. So we could see if the boat was upright or on the side.
Yeah.
So the drones are great, but use responsibly. I got cut with somebody else's drone flying right into
Oh
me.
my gosh.
So,
Yeah.
so you gotta be
can be.
cautious.
Now, when people ground their boat, what do you think a cause of that is? They just don't know the landscape. They don't know.
Well, it could be sometimes you just do the bad maneuver. You're not paying attention. You can be a great captain, but you just misjudge something. But I think in a boating overall, the education it's I think very low. Like we all get the driver license to get our cars on the road,
Yeah.
and for a boat, at a certain year you have to take the boating safety class, which I'm an instructor of, but not everybody takes it seriously, and not everybody has that education.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lack of proper education and keeping up with whatever you've learned.
That's huge. You like you said, you're not big on the hull cleaning, but you'll do that underwater. I thought that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, sometimes we clean the hulls of the boat.
Right.
It helps with the fuel efficiency, how the boat handles. The cool thing would be sometimes do on quite a bit on a boat. We change the whole propellers on a boat, like on a ferries, on the dinner boats.
Yeah.
Those propellers are
Ones that they're kind of hard to get out of the water.
there is no time.
Right.
Because those charter boats, they operate all the time. So we go there at night, the propeller could be 300 pounds. We take it off, put the new one in, and in the morning the boat is back in service.
Yeah.
And a lot of calls, was like 2 days ago, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, the tugboat calls me. So the tugboat had a big line on the propeller. So I went in there, some to the city, cut it all up. And next day I'm going on a job site on another boat. And it was a good scene, like seeing that tugboat pushing the barge back in service.
Yeah.
And speaking of pushing the barge, we did some bigger salvages, some barges, like we did 300 feet barge and
Wow.
200 feet barge. We raced 135, 120 dry dock.
Oh my God.
2 weeks ago, we raced 200 feet barge.
And what do you use? What are they like balloons or?
No, we do underwater installation of pumps. So it's basically displacement of water and displace the water with the air.
Right.
So we pump the water out, simple say,
Yeah.
and when you pump it out, you have to replace that medium with something. So replace it with air
Yeah.
so that barge can restore its own natural buoyancy.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say 2 weeks ago, we raised the barge, was 200 feet or 198. So I don't want people telling me that I'm making things up. But it was cool. Like a couple days later, after we finished the salvage, was like 5 days process. Then we are on the water doing some dive project, and I'm looking at the barge. I was like, talking to my buddy, hey, look at the barge. It's back in service, going back and forth. So it's a good feeling when you see that the boats, New York waterways or tugboats or charter boats, they're back in service, and you can say like, okay, you know, we did our share
That's
to
right.
keep it moving.
That's a great feeling. Now, my good friend John Vargo passed, but what a great publication he had was Boating on the Hudson. And it was funny because the last couple that were put out were like perfect. They were beautiful. And you knew John.
John was excellent, man.
Yeah.
I kind of say he's excellent, man, because the memories they live on. I knew John personally. He's a great person. He was an advocate for clean Hudson River.
Big time, yep.
Yeah, big time. We even did 2 shows together in Tarrytown on the waterfront. I had the show for the kids where we showed them the cameras, everything we had set up underwater. I dove in there, then we brought the little aquarium, and we scooped up the Hudson River and the mud line and those little bugs. I'm not a biologist, so anybody who's watching me, they can educate me.
Okay.
But anyway, they were like moving live things in that Hudson River water. So the kids were looking at it in the aquarium. John Vargo was there. He's great with kids and with people. And he always brought people close to the river and have them understand, like, this is beautiful and let's protect it.
Yeah.
John is a great guy.
Yes, we'll miss him for sure.
Yeah.
Now you're doing a series of shows. What's
Oh,
that
yeah.
about?
We got very lucky.
Yeah.
We got very lucky. We have
Well, it's very interesting what you're doing. There's no doubt.
we have a show. I mean, there is a show on the Weather Channel. It's called Deep Water Salvage. So the film crew from the Weather Channel, which I think somehow works with Discovery, they go out and they film the marine salvages. And my company has 4 episodes over there.
All right.
So the guy calls me 2 years ago from Great Britain, and we were just preparing the barge to be salvaged. And he says, well, I would like to film some salvage.
Yeah.
And I told him, look, I have so many spam phone calls a day.
Yeah. Is this
Tired,
real?
and I'm done, you know? And I hung up the phone on him. So the guy calls back and he says that he's real. And basically, a year from that conversation, or 8 months, the salvage of that barge, when he calls me, was on TV.
Oh my God.
And they requested more. So I was fortunate to do another salvage, like a bigger one, when they were interested. Then another one for City of New London. Wow. Then last week, another 200 feet barge. And between, we did a lot of the smaller boats, but not everything is desired to be published.
Yeah.
I went to Florida basically last year. I fulfilled my big dream. Whenever, I think every man thinks that way. Whenever you see those catastrophes on a TV, whether it's like the hurricane or a flood, or I think or fire, every man wants to be like, what if I go there and just take the chainsaw or whatever and start like helping or working? Yeah. I think everybody thought that.
Of course.
So
That's a good feeling.
Yes. So when I was at the last hurricane last year in Florida, totally destroyed Fort Myers, I literally watched the news. I bought the trailer. Within 2 days, I bought the trailer, packed up the trailer, and I started to drive down to Florida.
Awesome.
I had somebody over here making the phone calls. So I got hooked up with somebody, and I raised like 40 or 50 boats over there.
Awesome. So. Z, thanks so much for coming on.
All right, guys. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. We got like 1 minute left. Just if young people want to get into something like you're doing, what would you suggest?
I'd say maybe not what I do. Do whatever you want to do in life, and don't see the problems before. Yep. The one thing what's certain in life, the problems will come at the right time. So keep doing whatever you want to do. Just do it. Don't let yourself to be stopped with problems before you even hit them. Just keep moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks. You're a great inspiration. I'm so glad you came on.
Same here. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. It was great.
Thanks.
Thank
I'm
you.
Victor Margiotta. I read about the history of the Hudson, and all you got to do is Google it, but it's an excellent read. And, get involved in the community. There's so many places to go on the Hudson to go and enjoy and relax and meditate and clear your mind and be the person like he's just said that you could be. So thanks so much for watching. Z, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.